Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area, and it is Monday, and Kyle Shanahan did just speak to the media, and they actually got lucky. The five players that were injured on Sunday in Houston are all day to day, which is actually really lucky. Mac Jones had a knee contusion. He's day to day. Sam Okwanu with the ankle, which really looked scary the way he came off the field. I mean, he hobbled over, collapsed onto a knee on the sidelines, and then was carted off the field. He is day to day. Shocking. Alfred Collins with a shoulder. He went back into the game, had an extra wrap on his left shoulder. He's day to day as well, along with Jordan Elliott with the ankle injury and D. Winters with the knee injury. All five players day to day. I am honestly shocked that they actually got, I'm going to use air quotes, lucky. They also expect to open the window for Ben Bartch, practice window for Ben Bartch, which I think is a huge, huge thing, bigger than what I think anyone would like to admit. Connor Colby was in there for half the snaps. Nick Zakelj was in there for half the snaps. Neither one of them did very well in pass protection. Trent Williams had a struggle. It's kind of up and down day. He had a great run blocking day. If you missed any of my PFF grades, the story's out in NBC Sports Bay Area. Dominic Pooney has been struggling as well. I think a lot of it is because he's not 100% healthy. Colton McKivitz, also not great day, but that Houston pass rush is really good, really solid, and just really tough. And if the everybody else along with the offensive line is not doing their job, like the wide receivers chipping, running backs chipping, tight ends, if they're not doing everything they can as they're assigned. I mean, George Kittle said after the game there were missed assignments here and there and pre-snap penalties, and Mac Jones said, "Hey, I can deal with missing a throw here and there, things that don't happen as they're supposed to as the play unfolds." But the pre-snap issues are where it was a difficult thing for the 49ers. So I think Ben Bartch coming back is a huge win for the 49ers. So I'm going to use air quotes again. It's going to make a lot of difference. He has, Chris Verster has said before, I love Ben Bartch. He just comes in there, plays football. He's good at his job. And I think it's going to make a difference on the offensive line. It's going to give whoever is under center, whether it's Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, it's going to give them a little bit more time. It's probably going to open up some lanes for Christian McCaffrey, who did not have a lot of room in Houston as well. I did ask Kyle Shanahan about Jake Brendel and Bryce Huff. He said it's pretty unlikely that either of those two are going to come back this week. So again, the 49ers defensive line are going to be without edge rushers. Good news is that Sam Okwanu could play. It just depends on how he makes it throughout the week. I didn't ask him about Yetur Gross-Matos, which is another guy who they really need to get back. He's out with a hamstring, and he has kind of a lingering knee issue, but that's where they are on Jake Brendel and Bryce Huff. Maybe better news on Brock Purdy. They're going to, he said it's too early in the week. I asked him about Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall. He said Brock Purdy, who missed his fourth consecutive game, he's getting better. So on Wednesday, they kind of evaluate those players that haven't been playing. I think the good news is that he traveled. Generally, when a guy is not healthy enough, they don't want him to travel because the extra time away from rehab, and for a guy who's got a toe injury to be walking or standing on it, pressurization of an airplane, all of that stuff. So the fact that Brock Purdy traveled is a good sign. Ricky Pearsall did not travel. We have not seen him on the practice field in weeks with the PCL injury, but he said he's getting closer. Kyle Shanahan said he's getting closer. So again, too early to say. He did say for Brock Purdy, it's not a long shot. He's doing better, but on Wednesday, they'll see how he goes. For Ricky Pearsall, he said, I'm like, is he going to come back and practice this week? He said, I hope so. I'm sure he's doing better this week than last, but I still haven't been told that he will for sure be back. We'll have to evaluate that when we get to Wednesday. So again, this 49ers team is dealing with a ton of injuries, but I did go back to 2020, and I gotta say, that injury list is worse, unbelievably worse. In 2020, this week 9, same thing, November 2nd, 2020, these are the players that were out just on offense. Jimmy Garoppolo, ankle. George Kittle, foot. Deebo Samuel hamstring, Raheem Mostert ankle, Tevin Coleman knee, Jeff Wilson Jr. calf, Weston Richburg knee and shoulder, Ben Garland calf, Jordan Reed ankle and knee, Jalen Hurd knee, Tavon Austin knee, Juwan Jennings, who's on the practice squad, injured, Chris Thompson also injured. So I know some of those guys were not starters, but a lot of them were. Jimmy, George, Deebo, Raheem, Tevin Coleman, Jeff Wilson Jr., Weston Richburg, Ben Garland, Jordan Reed, and Jordan Reed, all starters. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Maybe, nine that started or had time starting because Raheem Mostert was out, so Tevin Coleman went in. Tevin Coleman went in, so Jeff Wilson went in. So they all had time where they were starting. That was just on offense. On the defensive side, Nick Bosa with a knee injury. He was out week 2, right? Same with Solomon Thomas, knee injury. D Ford, neck and back. Mark Nazacha, linebacker, quad injury. Richard Sherman was out with a calf injury. Jaquaski Tart out with a groin injury. Ronald Blair out with a knee injury. Julian Taylor was a knee injury. He was waived. Ezekiel Ansah with a bicep injury. So those are the players that were out week 9. Then players who missed games due to injury that had been back in. So players that have been missed at some point in those first 8 weeks. Brandon Ayuk hamstring, Richie James hamstring, Emmanuel Mosley concussion, Dre Greenlaw quad injury, Akella Witherspoon hamstring injury, Dante Johnson groin injury, K'Wan Williams hip knee injury, Jimmy Ward quad injury. Those are all guys who played. And then guys who missed because of COVID, Kendrick Bourne, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk. And then Quan Alexander, ankle injury, also missed games, but he wasn't on the roster at that time because I think of the trade, he had been traded. So that's a way worse list in 2020 than what the 49ers are dealing with now in 2025. So I've said that 2020 has always been worse. And I was like, well, maybe we're getting close to it. I don't know. I think 2020 was still way worse. I mean, you list that list is so many starters, so many guys who spent time on the field. And you look at the Niners who are out now. It's less on offense. It's Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, Ben Barch, Jacob Cowing, who wasn't necessarily a starter, but a returner, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford. So that's 1, 2, 3, 6. On defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Yetur Gross-Matos, Bryce Huff. It's 4 guys. Players who missed games due to injury, it's George Kittle, Kevin Givens, Juwan Jennings, CJ West with his hand. On the pup, Brandon Ayuk. Players who have missed games from previous injuries, it was Malik Mustafa, Upton Stout missed a game with an ankle, Jordan Watkins, calf, Robert Beal, ankle. So when you look at that, I think in comparison, the names that are on that 2020 list, they're almost all starters and the list is way longer. So as bad as it is, it could be worse. They still have Trent Williams is starting. George Kittle is back. Christian McCaffrey is there. Mac Jones has been pretty darn good. You've got Deommodore Lenoir. It's Malik Mustafa back. So you look at it, I think, yes, on the defense, it might be worse than what it was then. But that was a lot of players who were out in 2020. So when you look at it, and I think comparatively, it's bad, but 2020 was still way worse. That was the worst year. I remember writing a story of the players that were out in 2020 and the caliber of players and the number of them is higher than now. So yes, it's not great now by any means, but I think 2020 was way worse. So looking at the PFF grades, I posted that on NBC Sports Bay Area and it wasn't great. 3 dropped passes that were pretty big plays. Juwan Jennings dropped one, hit him in the hands. Kendrick Bourne dropped one, and Jordan Watkins dropped one. Not great. 10 pressures allowed. Trent Williams, 1 sack, 1 hit, 2 hurries. Connor Colby, 1 hurry. He was only on there for 20 snaps. Nick Zakelj was on there for 19, 2 hurries. Matt Hennessy allowed 1 hit, 1 hurry. Dominic Pooney allowed 1 hit, 1 hurry. And Colton McKivitz, 1 hit and 3 hurries. The edge in Houston was really, really good. On the other side of the ball, the 49ers defense only generated 10 pressures. Michael Williams had 2 hurries, D. Winters 2 hurries, Malik Mustafa 1 hurry, Jair Brown 1 hurry, Alfred Collins 1 hit, Upton Stout 1 hurry, Selma Kwanu 1 hit, and Travis Gibson 1 hurry. I think one of the bigger problems with the 49ers yesterday was 10 missed tackles. Jair Brown had 2. Upton Stout had 2. I think there was one play where there were 3 missed tackles altogether. So Jair Brown 2, Upton Stout 2, Michael Williams, D. Winters, Tatum Bethune, Chase Lucas all had 1 missed tackle. I think also you're really missing Fred Warner. That soft area in the middle of the field where Fred Warner would normally be in coverage. And if there were completed passes, it was for very few yards. There were some huge explosive plays yesterday. Malik Mustafa allowed 3 catches on 4 targets for 79 yards. D. Winters allowed 7 catches on 7 targets for 59 yards and a touchdown. Tatum Bethune allowed a catch on his 1 target. That was 50 yards. Upton Stout, 7 catches on 8 targets for 46 yards. Jair Brown allowed catches on all 3 targets for 42 yards. Diamond Lenore allowed 4 catches on 6 targets, but for only 25 yards. Renardo Green, 2 catches on 4 targets, 12 yards. Pretty good game. Chase Lucas allowed 2 catches on 2 targets, but again, only for 10 yards. Upton Stout and Jair Brown actually had really, really good run grades. Upton Stout, 3 tackles and 1 stop. Jair Brown, 2 solo tackles, 1 assist, and 2 stops. Upton Stout had the highest grade on run defense, and Jair Brown had the second highest run defense grade. They just could not get to CJ Stroud at all. He had 2.7 some odd seconds to throw the ball, which is kind of what he's had throughout the season, but he didn't have to scramble. He had tons of time back there. And, these young guys, they're growing. Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, they're getting better, but they're not Pro Bowl, all pro pass rushers yet. It's not, Bryce Huff is really, really fast off the edge. And Michael Williams said, hey, no one can do what Bryce Huff does. He's just so fast. And Nick Bosa is an all pro and was Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. Without those guys, it makes it way more difficult to get to the passer. And then if they're not getting the passer, they're not errant throws by the quarterback. So that can lead to interceptions, tipped balls, turnovers. So just a tough one for the 49ers overall. They're injured and kind of limping into this week 9, but they could get some players back. I think Ben Bartch, it's kind of underplayed and underspoken how much he could make the offense better. They do have a veteran defense, like George Kittle said. They just have to now. The offense needs to stay on the field. They can't go 3 and out. They can't have pre-snap penalties. They've got to stay on the field and get a first down before the end of the first half. That was the longest time that the 49ers did not have a first down in Kyle Shanahan's tenure as 49ers head coach. So that's the most time they've been on the field without a first down. It was just a really uninspiring game from the 49ers on Sunday. But maybe now that they've had this kind of punch in the gut, they'll come back with a little bit of fire in New York. All right, everybody, that's your Monday update. I'll have more for you coming up this week. Obviously, Tuesday is the 49ers day off. Wednesday, back at it, practice up in Santa Clara. So lots more to come this week as they head to New York for week 9.